Hi everyone, welcome to Coding Bytes. Right, today I'm going to take you through how to build your own web browser. Now, why would you want to do this? Good question. Most of my Coding Bytes is going to be based on what I've heard and what people have asked and how do I do certain things. And one of the things that came up the other day was someone asked me, can I close the browser from push button? Now, yes, there's a certain amount of that which is possible. So there's nothing to stop you writing a button, making a button which speaks to the PLC. The PLC can implement something like NT start process, and then you can call upon something like kill Chrome. That's definitely a possibility. So you can kill it in that direction. You can definitely shut down a web browser, but you're not using the web browser to do it. So that opened up a question with, well, there's been occasions, especially with things like taking a screenshot maybe, where having your own web browser, if you controlled your own web browser and exposed a certain API, you could allow a certain amount of things that a typical web browser wouldn't allow. Now, web browsers are very much security focused. So they sandbox you. Your web page runs in a certain sandbox. They really restrict you to what you're allowed to see of the client's machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use Electron to make a browser. And then from that, we're going to show you not only what API I've put in there already. So I'm supporting things like opening and closing windows, closing the application, taking a screenshot, those types of things. I'll show you how to do those. But I think that the getting started may be a little complex if you've never done node programming before. So so it's going to be a two-part video. First part is let's just get it up and running so you can see the code, you can start having a play and you can build it and deploy it. The second thing, I'm going to go through and actually explain the code that I've already done. Okay, so make your way over to my GitHub repo. Electron Custom Browser is what it's called. It's actually going to be called EC Browser. So just a name I've just picked out. And then maybe if people want to add functionality, feel free to do a pull request, add functionality to it. We'll chat about it and add it, and we can just expand on this as well. Don't get me wrong, there is a web browser from Beckhoff, but I'm taking a different approach to this. So this is more of a do your own. So which is what I like. I tend to go off on a bit of a tangent just so I can control things. Right, so this is the repo. There's a little GIF there just showing me using it just on the from the command line, actually setting it going. Off the bat itself, you'll actually see here off the bat, it's just a web browser, and you can see here I'm typing in commands in the console window, but they're commands that you could call via your Twinker HMI code. So that you'll see that there's an EC browser symbol, and if you in there are methods you can call, and those methods do something. So let's get started. So if you scroll your way down just to here, getting started. So prerequisites, you're going to need Node.js. So just go off and install the latest version of Node.js. It really isn't version dependent. NPM, Node Package Manager, comes with Node, so that's all fine. That's going to install itself. And obviously a lot of the work that I do uses GitHub, so just make sure you've got Git installed on your PC so you can use Git commands. Right, so starting off, so clone the repo. So I'm just going to copy that command, open up a command window. Now I always, just as a rule of thumb, I work in dev, so cd dev, just a small path. Again, when I first started programming, you could have spaces in folder names, that type of thing. So nice small folder. And I'm just going to paste that in. There we go. So git clone. There we go. So that's given us that's cloned this repo. Next thing I'm going to do is just navigate to it. So cd, now I'm in that. The next thing that you do, npm install. So anyone who's never used Node before, what I can show you is my project relies on other people's things. And if I go into packages.json, it actually discloses what things I use as developer dependencies. So these are the things which allow me to build the application. And you'll see here that I'm using Electron, which is the web browser. And also I've got other dependencies, which is minimalist. So these are bits of code that I use in my code to do things. Minimalist is a tool which allows me to parse the command line for arguments. So, so when we do npm install, what it does is it checks the packages JSON, finds the dependencies, finds the versions, and goes off and installs them for us. Nice and easy. So npm install. There we go. Nice. Right, so from this one here, we've now got a few things we can call. So if we just go back to the README, npm start that's your most basic code. So npm start will run the application. From our side, you're just going to see a white screen at the moment because the default setting is it's going to run, it's going to try to connect to 127.0.0.1 port 1010. Now that's the default Twinkle HMI local connection. It's not available, so at the minute it just white screens. If you press Alt, you won't be able to see this because it's very widescreen on mine and I'm not recording the whole screen. But if you press Alt, you can open up the menu and say File Exit and it will close. So that's it. We can also see here that it was reporting back that it couldn't see that, that web page. And what's nice too is if the web server is not available yet, it will just keep trying it. By default, it retries every 5 seconds. What have we got next? So I've designed the browser off the bat to support command line arguments. Now, to mimic that, while we're in this developer mode, we can do either npm start example window, which is the same as once I've built this, as if I've typed in these command lines. So the URL with a width and a height. So I'm just going to show you this one as well. Let's just open this up. Nice and easy to see now. This is the browser itself. It's connected to example.com and this is the browser. So this would normally be showing your HMI at this point. You can press Alt and it will bring up the menu. So I've allowed menu access. And in here, I'm just going to toggle developer tools. So we can actually see behind the scenes, this will show us what the JavaScript is available under the hood. So one of the things that I've made available is EC Browser. So EC Browser, we can see here, if I just open that up, it's an object with some functions on there. And we can do things like, let's just open this, EC Browser.close app. And we close the app, nice and easy. So that could have been called by a JavaScript function, like triggered by a Twinkle HMI button. Let's just spin that open again. Control-Shift-I is the same, just to bring up the console. So we go EC Browser, and this time I'll do one. Let's do Open Window, and in here we'll do HTTP by HTTPS google.com. Then we need to provide it with some sizes, so 800 by 600, and then I'll open it at 1000 on the desktop. There we go. So now we can see that it's also opened a page. So this would be handy if you was doing things where, let's say for example, you had a camera configuration page that's run by HTML. You can open that, and not only can you open it, but you can control the window too. So these are async await. They actually return a promise to do something. I'll get into the promise handling, all that good stuff in the second video. But what we can see here is when the promise fulfills, we actually get provided back a window handle, which is in the form of just a number. And now we can do things like EC Browser, close window, oops, and pass in the number 2. And we close window. There we go. We've got other functions, nice other one just to show you, which is take screenshot, for example. Nice, and the promise resolves, and when it resolves, it tells me what the JPEG, it's a ping that comes back, what the name of the ping is. If you supply a file name, it will use it, and if you use the same file name, it'll overwrite what was ever there. But if you leave it blank, it'll just it'll use a time and date, that type of thing. So there we go. So we've now got a browser where it has added functionality, which I've brought in. Have a look through, because I show you what functionality is here, things I've just added just as an example, really. And the final part is if you turn around and say, right, perfect, that's nice, I want to use this as the browser on my IPC. We need to package it up so it's an executable. So how we do that? So let's just move back on here. So we've got a thing called npm run dist. We press that, off it goes. It makes a license file, so it scans the project. This is a little script that I wrote, scans the project, picks out any of the licenses that you've used. It'll actually halt, if you've got non-permissive licenses, it will actually prevent the build from continuing, because I'm using all permissive licenses, as in yes, feel free, as long as you include the license, you're allowed to use this code. So it makes that, and it adds this to the installer. So when it makes an installer and it gets installed onto the IPC, the licenses go with it, which is all part of the terms of MIT licensing. And at that point here, if we just do dir we have a dist folder, so cd dist, and show you inside it. We've got a folder called win, so cd win, and we can see the setup.exe. So it's this that you then copy to your IPC, double click on it, it'll install. It'll actually run once the installer is finished, and it'll give you an icon on the desktop that you can just continuously run it. It also provides you with an unpacked version of it. So if I do cd win unpacked and dire, we can see that ecbrowser.exe is there as well. So it's actually showing us, so ecbrowser.exe. If we now do something like --url is equal to https google.com, and it'll actually start up in full screen because without height and width it'll default to full, and we just go with that, and we see that we get into Google. So that's it. So there we go. Step number one is setting up your environment, running it, having a look at the code. Have a look in the code, but the next bit of the video is going to be talking about what code's in there, but feel free to have a look anyway. But this allows you to get it up and running, try it out, and then package it up, put it onto an IPC and run it. Okay, all right, I'll see you in the next video.